This is a special meeting of the Community Redevelopment and Housing Commission. Today is August 14th, 2019. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Right hand over left. Ready, begin. Thank you.
Madam Recording Secretary, may you please take roll call?
Commissioner Aguinaga? Present. Commissioner Garcia? Here. Commissioner Perez?
Present.
Chair Ramos?
Present.
Vice Chair Santana?
Present.
Commissioner Ursua?
Present.
Commissioner Torres? Commissioner Sanchez?
Present.
Commissioner Frazier? Commissioner Vasquez? Thank you.
Thank you. Seeing quorum, this meeting is officially called to order. This is time for the Commission to consider matters under the consent calendar. Items include 1 through 2. Do any members have any corrections to the minutes, items they wish to pull for separate discussion or abstain on? Commissioner Ursua.
I'll be abstaining from item 1. I don't know if I need to separate those to vote.
No, I think we can just list your abstentions, right?
Thank you.
Are there any other items that anybody would like to pull or discuss? Seeing as there are none, do I have a motion to consider items 1 through 2?
Make a motion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Santana. Is there a second?
I second.
Thank you, Commissioner Perez. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. The matter is approved by unanimous consent, while
One
Commissioner
abstention.
Ursua is abstaining on, was that matter 1 or 2?
Matter number 1.
Matter number 1.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now consider matters under the business calendar. The first item on the business calendar is item number 3, verbal update from the Homeless Services Manager. Will staff report on the matter?
Thank you so much, Chairwoman Ramos. This is in response to the request by the Commission to have a verbal update from our Homeless Services Manager, Ms. Hafsa Keka.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Hafsa Keka, Homeless Service Manager with the city. So I know you have a very robust agenda today with the capers and the work study later, so I'm going to try to make it as efficient and quick as possible. So next week we're going to have the Homeless Services biannual report that's going to go to Council, so you'll have an opportunity to really dig deep into that and kind of see what some of the things we've been doing since January. But from a high-level perspective, first of all, I want to be thanking Commissioner Perez and Commissioner Santana. I'm thanking you guys.
Thank you. We're thanking ourselves for thanking you.
I want to thank you both for making the time to go and visit the link. I think we did that, I believe, a couple of months ago. Both of you guys were a pleasure to tour, and I really appreciated the fact that you offered some really, really good insights into how to essentially make the services better. So some of the things that you had talked about was creating more of a relationship with the Santa Ana Unified School District, and I'm happy to say that we had the Family Solutions Collaborative along with the Santa Ana Unified School District McKinney-Vento liaison come to the site and really kind of work with Mercy House and the case managers as a result of that to get them connected to programs like, I think it's called Schools on Wheels. And so that has commenced at the link, and it's been really great to see the kids actually utilizing the services. So tutoring has begun, especially in the summer session. Meals on Wheels are also some of the things that the Mercy House is looking into. Recently, they got a fridge just for the families so that the WIC recipients could actually have their own food. So a lot of great things happening. One of the things the Santa Ana Unified School District Liaison also has done is kind of work with those parents who've been really struggling in terms of past barriers with child protection and parenting skills. So that has commenced as well. So that's a really good update for the children at the link. We also have the Heart Art program. This is really loud. the Heart Art program, and that commenced a couple months ago as well, where we have a vendor or an actual nonprofit that comes and teaches art to a lot of the children, and it's really produced a lot of great social skills. It's produced a lot of good securities, confidence. The children are really experiencing a good time there. So again, while the parents are working to try to become self-sufficient and get on the path of ending their homelessness, of course the children who are at the link, which is an average of 24 kids each bed nights, they're really getting an opportunity to thrive and change their life. So that's one thing there. We do have a lot of individuals at the link as well, and they're also receiving a plethora of services, employment services. There's going to be mental health connections with the Cal Optima and Telecare mobile clinic that's going to be commencing at the link as well. We've had several opportunities for folks getting into permanent supportive housing, and of course that's the great work that all of you do, especially with the Housing Authority with the mainstream vouchers, along with the Orchard, and of course rapid rehousing through ESG and all of those subsidies. So just a couple of pictures right here. If you have not looked at the Homeless Services dashboard, we've also, if you go online, we do have a Homeless Services dashboard. It used to be the Link dashboard, now it's Homeless Services. So you're also going to see data on the COLT. That's my segue to the Quality of Life team. The Quality of Life team has been very, very busy these past few months. We have been really integrated in bigger projects. Some of these projects are the railroad cleanups. Our code enforcement department has gotten warrant to abate, and so we go ahead and we go out as a team and help clean up. This has been a big issue, and actually there's going to be more strategic plan around this from our city manager. Also, another big cleanup has been the Santiago Creek area that the Quality of Life team has also addressed. We had a couple of big cleanups there. These are very interesting and complicated projects because it involves other jurisdictional entities as well. So that's a big thing for quality of life, but they're addressing issues locally at the city level through the My Santa Ana app, and I just wanted to make sure you also received that update. Also, from a legislative perspective, I know Commissioner Santana, you were asking about that last time. We went ahead and we did provide a letter of support formally from our city through the mayor for AB, I believe it's 1295, with Sharon Quirk Silva on the emergence of emergency shelter beds for the SPMI population, severely mental ill, for the Fairview Costa Mesa Center. And that's pretty exciting because, as we know, there's not a regional equability when it comes to homelessness in the city of Santa Ana, as we do have the Courtyard Emergency Shelter. The city actually has the most county, beds. So we're trying to attain that regional equability, and those conversations are, of course, also happening on the city managers in terms of the MOU with the county. So those are just some really high-level things that would be very beneficial to inform the commission. Is that in last month we received a more detailed point in time count from the county, and one of the things that the county identified for the city of Santa Ana is that there is quite a few seniors who are experiencing homelessness. And one thing that I have mentioned to our housing authority manager, Judson, is that it would be great to see future projects that service specifically the senior population. We also have veterans, but I think we're doing really well, so I appreciate the support in terms of veteran housing. We definitely need more permanent supportive housing, more affordable housing, and I think that is going to conclude my high-level update for today.
Thank you. Are there any commission member questions or comments? Commissioner Perez.
Thank you. I'm very impressed going out to the visit, and thank you for connecting back with Santa Ana, and I know we're going to continue that partnership. With the new settlement that just occurred, can you tell me what that specifically means for Santa Ana?
Yeah, I'm so glad you asked that question. So basically there was a settlement that occurred a couple of weeks ago at the end of July with the County of Orange and the Sheriff's Department, along with the South Cities, with the exclusion of Irvine and Laguna Beach, I believe. Laguna Niguel, Laguna Beach, I think it's Laguna Beach. And basically it says that there is new, going back to that 9th Appellate Court hearing that happened last last year that you cannot enforce unless you provide essentially an opportunity for someone to get sheltered. So of course this is something that's very big, it's national, everyone's kind of talking about it in terms of law enforcement addressing homelessness with different cities. So essentially that means that, okay, South County, let's step up your game and let's create a shelter if you really want to, you know, enact your no camping ordinances. And I think that given the history of homelessness in the county of Orange, it'll be really exciting for them to create additional beds. I know that's the direction it's going for, and what that means for Santa Ana is that it's going to be able to attain our larger strategy of regional equability for the city.
As far as our shelter that we have right now, is that going to speed up closing that shelter?
Can you repeat that?
Is it going to speed up closing our emergency shelter?
Well, our emergency shelter is a temporary shelter, right? And so we're going to be going on to year 2 of it. Again, a lot of that has to do with some strategic planning at the city manager's office, and I'll be following direction from that. Yeah.
But as of right now, you haven't heard anything.
No.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Aguinaga, did you have a question or comment?
Not at this time,
Okay.
but I would like to have we do have a member of the public that we wish to speak. So when she doesn't have to wait till the whole meeting, we can let her speak before, that would be nice.
We can take public comments after we finish this
Okay.
item. Thank you. Are there any other commission members that would like to comment? Go ahead, Vice Chair Santana.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Hassel, for your report. I think the last time we visited the link, we requested more details on folks who might have been turned down or might have not necessarily been following the rules. And what is the process? What is the due process?
Yeah.
Do you have that with you?
So you mean folks who are not following the rules at the shelter?
Correct.
So Mercy House has a process that they utilize for all of their shelters, and it's standard. You know, if someone violates a rule, then obviously motivational interviewing, strength-based practices, retention services from a supportive services is obviously utilized to ensure that people who are experiencing vulnerable issues such as mental health, medical health issues, substance abuse, that they're really compassionate and also assertive in providing them services. At the same time, if someone violates a rule, then of course there's a process, they'll be exited, and then there's also an appeal process where they get to request to return. It's obviously a homeless service provider, so what they will do is allow services and, you know, engaging in additional resources outside of the shelter to get them back to disciplinary and get them into the shelter again. So there is a process in terms of Mercy House exiting someone, reevaluating within 30 days and allowing them back in. And of course there's extenuating circumstances for everybody.
But do you have those stats?
Yeah, I could get those stats from the shelter. Can I ask, how is it going to be helpful?
It's helpful because I personally myself have spoken to some of the folks who have been turned down, and they have expressed that there is lack of transparency when it comes to them being, because I know that there is an attrition rate, right? There's
Yeah.
available beds, and they're upset because they've been permanently or have to wait like a 30 or 90 day
Yes.
wait period.
Yes, 30 days.
And they weren't aware of where to file an appeal, who to speak with, and then that's just one of my concerns. And I feel like, you know, as we are funding the shelter, we want to make sure that we keep Mercy House accountable and make sure that the recipients are receiving high standards of quality care that they deserve, regardless of their mental, physical, or being that they're currently in. Second is, my concern is with the children who are in the shelter, and has there been any remedies to help? I understand that a lot of my commissioners weren't present, but it is still a big concern every time I drive by there. You know, I know summer just passed by, right? School's back in session, but I'm pretty sure those kids, I'm curious if those kids were given the option to go to a daycare or a camp, either by the county, by the city, or would they just stay there?
No, actually, they did go to a camp. They had a 1-week camp at the YMCA for, I think they went to Elk Camp in Wrightwood, and they had a great opportunity, and the YMCA completely funded that. And I've asked for pictures. And if you go to our data dashboard, then you'll also see additional information. To your first question, absolutely. Mercy House, like I said earlier when I prefaced it, they're going to do everything possible to help an individual who's struggling with homelessness and any other biopsychosocial issues to keep them retained. However, because there's children there, obviously, if an action requires discipline to be provided to another service area, then that's obviously going to be needed. I'll give you an example. If there's domestic violence in, a children's center, obviously, that individual is going to be provided with resources and taken to another shelter because you want to make sure the children are safe. Oftentimes, Mercy House does give 3 strikes, right? Like, oh, you're not supposed to do that. Okay, strike. Don't do that again. This is not correct. And then they actually have forms where they follow through case management. So I get all the incident reports, and I completely trust the fact that based on my monitoring that they're being very equitable to the folks in the shelter. And definitely you'll have the narratives, and I would be happy to get those directly so I could speak to Mercy House saying, hey, Commissioner Santana brought this to my attention. I want to see exactly what's going on here as part of my monitoring. One thing I will say is I've been out on the streets with folks in terms of our COLT team, and when someone does qualify for the link and someone else doesn't qualify for the link, there's kind of rejoicing, oh, you're going to go to the link, you're so lucky, so a lot of folks are appreciative of it.
Another question I had was, what if I live in Santa Ana because I'm a resident in Santa Ana, and maybe my spouse doesn't, would she be turned down, or would that interfere? How does that work? Sometimes let's say 2 people just meet in the streets, and they're like, hey, I want to bring her with me to the link, not split.
Yeah.
One's in, one's out.
Absolutely. The couples is a big thing, right? Yeah. Like I even mentioned that the last time that, I think one of the learned lessons is to have more couple beds for emergency shelters, because you'd be surprised so many people, walk in as a couple. So because of the regional issues that we've had, the greater issues that the city of Santa Ana have had folks in the city that are not necessarily from Santa Ana, and we're trying to push the county to create more shelters, such as the South County, to take accountability for folks. We have to go through the criteria per person. But of course, we try to make resources and accommodate as much as possible.
Now, does a COLT team work just on the streets, or do they come in the shelter and continue the follow-up for the wraparound services?
So the COLT is primarily a street multidisciplinary outreach, right? So they're not going to provide case management services in the shelter. It's a warm handoff to Mercy House.
Okay. I think my last concern with is nutrition and food and storage. I know that we've mentioned with Jim that storage we're trying to keep them dignified and have it safe, but I understand that there's an issue when it comes to what they can store. I think animals are allowed, correct?
I'm sorry?
Animals are allowed?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So I would like to do another tour.
Sure.
Because I would like to see if there is an improvement. Because last thing I've heard also was that the Salvation Armory is going to open for the fall as part of the lawsuit. Is that correct?
So my understanding is that unless otherwise notified from the county, the armory and the cold weather shelters are as they are annually. I don't know if the county has something else planned.
So it is or is not open?
I'm sorry?
Is it open or not open?
I don't know what the county's going to release. It's ran by the county, so I don't know if this year the county's going to say, oh, there's going to be no Santa Ana Armory, there's going to be no felt, I think that's something that we should follow up, or maybe you could definitely follow up with the county to see if they're going to open a cold weather shelter. Yeah, but maybe Terry could answer to that. It is opening? Okay, yeah. And Santa Ana?
I know that it's a destination for pickup and transport to the link, and I've also had a concern with folks who are disabled, who may be on a wheelchair, who cannot climb up those 3 steps to get in the bus. And so, because they have belongings and they have shopping carts, and oftentimes they're not going to leave it, at the armory or by the park, because it might get tagged, it might get picked up by Public Works the next day, who knows, but, you know, I just wanna make sure that, these are the questions and concerns, because it affects residents as well as, them themselves.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
I hope we're asking these questions and we're following up, and I would, like to go back again with Jim whenever your schedule opens, and then, do a Colt ride-along as soon as possible.
Mhm.
I think, the clerk has done an amazing job trying to get everyone together on a date, but I think now that we're moving into the fall, I would like to see, you know, the Colt team in action.
Yeah, that would be wonderful. I'll follow up with the clerk to see what days and times work for you guys.
Thank you for your work this afternoon.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Additional
Perez.
questions. Thank you so much, Vice Chair. You did bring up some things that I did want to actually follow up on. Being in education, and students are huge and important to me and to all of us. And I think sometimes there's standard and expectation. And I think what we witnessed was standard care, but when you look at the opportunity for someone to walk in, so for those that did not attend the shelter, I was blown away that just a rod with a drape separated any other individual from walking into the children. And as a commissioner up here, to me, that's for individuals that have some mental illness, some drug addiction. We're talking about a high-risk population. And I just feel that there has to be other barriers in place that really stop someone, you know, from kind of going in. And yes, we did have some staff that were kind of, you know, positioned in an area, but the reality was with everybody coming in and out, you also didn't even know if you were a parent of a child to go into that room. There was no distinguish if it's a wristband, if it's, you know. So, and I just kind of felt that there has to be another way, or even just like where you can come in to see that, but their ability to walk in and out, and having a lot of the youth unsupervised, and I know it's not allowed, but again, there was no staff able to see if that's happening or not happening. And again, we can nitpick on this side, and that's not what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
We're really trying to provide as much safe, conducive environment to support them. And honestly, if they came back to me and said, Jim, it's a money issue, you know, and we needed to take a look at how we can support, I'd rather someone come to me and say, we need some additional support, let's find mechanisms, if it's not in here, if it's private funding, because I just think that the ability for something to happen is increased because of those safety issues and those no barriers, in a sense, you know, to someone just literally walking in. And I think those were some of our concerns. And I know they were taking a look, and I think on our end, just to reiterate, you know, has anything changed? And I don't necessarily do reports, I don't know if they did or not, but when we go back out, that's something that I will be taking a look at. And I do appreciate you reaching out to the school district and making sure those students are being served in camps and all those areas. And I think the other issue that we took a look at was the storage, where they actually housed their belongings, which was in a trash can. And I know an argument or, you know, belief was like, well, that's the best. To me, just reinforces to a traumatized homeless individual, like, that's who I am. And I struggle as a human being, as an individual, to be like, okay, there has to be, even if we opened it a different way, I mean, just to see all those trash cans and that's their belongings, to me is just not the way that I would want our city to represent that population, because we're here to serve all populations. And I just think those are, you know, as you see pictures, you're just like, okay, we have to be a little bit more creative than having a trash can be where they store all their belongings, you know. And I know they're weatherproof and, you know, all the proper reasons why. And again, I think I would rather someone come back and say, hey, listen, we need some additional funding. And again, us finding a way. If it's not here, if it's through private, I mean, I think, sometimes we're not looking just at some basic things because it's so of a complex of a problem. And I will say I was blown away, and 90% of what I saw was awesome. And it was great stuff going on. And I know we can nitpick, but just some of those areas, I think we could find, some solutions, So thank you for all your work. And I know I touched base with you, and when we come back, we can connect, and just see what those opportunities are.
Yeah. Thank you so much, and duly noted. And because, I just for the record want to say that those are amnesty boxes, but I completely understand. Again, this was done all in 28 days as an interim solution. I think that in an ideal world, if the city could, again, it's not the property of the city, you would actually make locker rooms, or you actually make rooms. So I just want to, reiterate that point, but I appreciate that. And also to the security, we do have a dedicated security officer right in front of the Children's Center, and I just want to make sure that's on record because it's very important. The safety of the children is always, our Santa Ana PD for a reason does the referral process for the link, and it's really to, ensure that there's no big felons or things like, individuals such as that are able to be close to the Children's Center. Also, I just want to lastly reiterate that after the commencement of the link, and I certainly will take this feedback and continue, and again, this is an interim solution, and hopefully we could apply some of your suggestions to the more permanent solution that's going to be down the road. But I've been successful in having representatives from, our Lou Correa's office, United States Interagency Council on Homelessness, National Alliance, the state Homeless Emergency Aid Program from Governor Newsom's office, representatives, including local cities, Anaheim, Costa Mesa, Orange, Tustin, cities that actually created a shelter after coming and looking at the link. And as you had mentioned, they all took suit to our infrastructure and how the supportive services are set there. So I'm happy to say we have set a standard, but of course, anytime we could, review areas of improvement, I'd be happy to. Yeah.
One last question.
Go ahead.
How much ESG funding goes to Mercy House?
Yeah, I'm gonna. Do you have that?
$30,000
Can't hear you.
last year.
30.
30,000 last year, and about 30,000 this year, actually.
So 30,000 plus the amount of ESG funds that we are allocating to the link.
That would be
No.
just for the link is for the current year is 200,000 for the link, and last year was 31,000. I'm still thinking last year because we're doing the cake.
Yeah.
200 is
So we
coming
don't
in.
own that building, it's a leased building, correct?
It's, yes, between Mercy House and the owner. Mhm.
So I want to confirm that those funds also came to the commission, and we are the voting body or the recommending body for those funds to be allocated X way.
I believe it did. It did. Mhm.
So, and can you just remind the commission when we might see that again, so that commissioners can take a closer look when those funds are being allocated?
Sure.
I can address that when I come up
Yeah.
with my report if you'd like.
Great, thank you.
Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Commissioner Aguinaga.
In past times, before you guys came around, are we having this program where we can help these people, but also by helping the same people all the time for free, we disable the people? I want to have a program where we can prepare them to work even for, I don't know, for the minimum.
You mean a workforce program?
Yeah, because many of these people that I talk to,
Yeah.
is not, they ask for help because they need help, but they don't want to be there all the time, or be asking for help all the time.
Yeah.
We disable the people by helping all the time, over and over and over, especially the same people.
So Second Chance OC actually goes to the link and helps, and obviously Second Chance OC is also a recipient of CDBG, so I'm getting a lot of great success stories of people learning employment skills, resume building, how to be confident, going to work, how to dress for work, how to get the social skills to retain work, so it's really exciting to see Second Chance OC be at the link.
If I may return to your previous question, Chairwoman Ramos and Vice Chair Santana, for fiscal year 1920, Mercy House is going to receive $316,491. The ESG program budget for fiscal year 1920 did not come to the commission. It went straight to city council.
That's different than what has happened in the past, correct? Because I remember this commission seeing that ESG budget
So
before.
so let's walk through that, right? So it went to the commission in the annual action plan.
Do you mind approaching the, we can't hear you.
That was part of the action plan.
You're coming up.
I'll come.
Which I believe we see in May.
But how did we present that in the annual action plan? I can't remember. We can look into it, of course, but
So there was a couple things in regards to how we allocated the funds. Each year, there is an RFP process, or it was a continuation of an RFP, well, I'll get to that. This past year, we determined how the allocation would be determined for ESG, and that did come before the commission, either just straight for ESG, which I can't recall, or as part of our action plan. And each year, the commission, the action plan does come before the commission prior to it going to the city council. So it would have been part of that,
part of the annual action plan.
definitely.
Because I know we brought,
If not separately. Sometimes we bring it separately, so it may
I
have.
think we saw it separately.
separately go
My
to
first
council,
year.
right?
Yeah, it came to us as an individual item, and then we were able to make that recommendation to council.
That's what I recall too.
Yeah, okay, sorry, yeah.
So I just wanted to make that clear for the commission. If commissioners have questions, it would be good to ask those questions and ask those thorough questions when we consider that budget and the service providers are present.
Are there any more homeless services questions?
Just,
Commissioner Sue.
please, that would really like to take a look at joining you all for this upcoming tour. So if I could request to be looped in as well.
Great.
Thank you.
All right, well, I will consult with our CDA director, Stephen Mendoza, on some of the questions and detailed Mercy House, because a lot of this stuff is also, I want to make sure that we have, obviously, information, but also there's HIPAA information as well, and just making sure that we honor that piece. But I'll certainly consult with Stephen and get you guys the information, and I hope that the information will continue to help us create permanent supportive housing so that there is a permanent solution for folks being exited from the shelter into permanent housing.
Thank you. And I would just like to lastly add that I'm happy to hear all these updates when you come and share them. And I think we've shared this in the past. Several commissioners have shared that. We just want to ensure that these processes that exist are restorative and transformative for these individuals that are currently houseless. So, and I'm sure that's being communicated, but if you can just reiterate that message that that is the interest of this commission. We're not just serving people, but we're helping them make it to the next point in their life.
With gratitude.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve item 3, verbal update from Homeless Services Manager? Thank you, Commissioner Aguinaga. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Ursula. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion is passed by unanimous consent. We're now we now have 2 public hearing items on the business calendar. So at this point, during the public hearing, our first item is the CAPER. Staff will provide a report, and then the public has the opportunity to provide comment on that specific report as a part of the public hearing, and there will also be another opportunity to provide public comments at the end of the meeting. So I'm going to begin with our public hearing. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the time and place for the public hearing of the Community Redevelopment and Housing Commission of the City of Santa Ana. For the first item is the Consolidated Annual Performance and Evaluation Report, and item number 2 is to approve an update to the Citizen Participation Plan. So we're going to start with the CAPER. Will staff provide a summary of the staff reports?
Yes, thank you, Chairwoman Ramos. I'd like to invite Terry Eggers, our Senior Community Development Analyst, to provide our presentation on the staff report.
Good afternoon. In fiscal year 2018-2019, the City of Santa Ana received over $8 million from HUD for CDBG, home, and ESG. These funds were used for capital improvements, for the creation of affordable housing, to assist individuals experiencing homelessness,
as well as presented to other nonprofit organizations. So in order to receive these funds, we are required by HUD to prepare a CAPER. So, what is the CAPER? The CAPER stands for Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report. It is required, as I said, of all grantees to be submitted within 90 days after the end of each program year. So our program runs from July 1 to June 30th. So this CAPER is due to HUD by September 30th. It provides accomplishments on our objectives that we adopted in our 5-year plan, and I will explain what that is in a moment. And it's designed to help the city assess its affordable housing and community development needs, market conditions, and to make data-driven decisions. So the consolidated plan. Every 5 years, each grantee is required to put together a 5-year planning document. We are closing in on the last year of our 5-year plan, and our new plan will start in 2020, July 1 of 2020. So we are in the last year here. The consolidated plan analyzes housing and community conditions. It establishes priorities and housing community needs, outlines strategies to address priority needs, identifies programs and projects to fund, and identifies benchmarks to measure success. Within each of the consolidated plans is also a 1-year action plan. The action plan covers just that 1 year, from July 1 to June 30th, and each 5-year, there are 5 annual action plans that are adopted under the umbrella of the 5-year consolidated plan. So if you look at the process, here's a photo of it. So in the beginning of the fiscal year, if you look at the top, each organization is required to prepare a 5-year con plan and or an annual action plan. Each April or May, we will come to the commission and then subsequently to the city council for approval of that plan. Then the plan is implemented from July 1 to June 30th, and then the staff begin preparing the accomplishments for the CAPER, which is what's before you today. And the public hearing is held each August to September. So we will be going to City Council on September 3rd for this document. So it's kind of a whole cycle. We have to have the 5-year plan. Part of the 5-year plan is the annual plan, and then we do a CAPER at the end of the program year. The consolidated plan, annual plan, and CAPER are for 3 specific grants, for CDBG, for home, and for ESG. CDBG is, the purpose of that is to develop viable urban communities by providing decent housing and suitable living environment and expanding economic opportunities, principally for persons of low and moderate income. The activities that we do are capital improvements, streets, parks, facilities, code enforcement, public services, which is what you are very familiar with. You are approving all of those nonprofit organization applications, and then also affordable housing rehabilitation and development. Some of the highlights from this past year include the approval of over $1.8 million in capital improvement projects. Over at the Regional Transportation Center, there were some great ADA improvements to eliminate some of the barriers and to improve accessibility. The Willits and Edinger residential street improvements included the replacement of concrete streets and panels, as well as reconstructing severely damaged or missing gutters, sidewalks, and also made those ADA compliant. So there's a couple of photos there for you. In addition, there was over $800,000 that was provided to 18 different public service programs. The home program is the next program, and this one deals specifically with the supply of affordable housing. The activities are for multifamily affordable housing, also some funds for some CHODOs, which is our community housing development organizations, single family and owner-occupied rehab, as well as down payment assistance. Some of the highlights from this past year include the Santa Ana Arts Collective, which had an investment of both home and CDBG funds, as well as inclusionary housing. So the project there is going to have 57 affordable residential units designed for artists with a ground floor commercial and community space. The other highlight of this past year was the investment of home funds and project-based vouchers for Santa Ana Veterans Village. That's going to have 75 project-based vouchers. A huge project down on First Street. We're all very excited for this project to be kicked off, and it's going to be working with the Veterans Affairs as well as Step Up on Second to provide the services for the individuals that are veterans and are homeless. Additionally, the home program had an RFP for affordable housing that was released, and that was for home and CDBG funds. And they had the approval of a pre-loan commitment in home funds for the development of an 86-unit new affordable housing project at the Crossroads at Washington. And then some additional rehabilitation is done, and here's an example of one rehabilitation of a model of a mobile home. There's a before and after photo. On to the ESG program, which is for individuals that are experiencing homelessness or to prevent homelessness. And the activities that we work with is homeless prevention, street outreach, shelter, rapid rehousing, and data. In 2018-19, we funded 7 homeless service providers. We provided some funds to our Santa Ana PD for the HEART program. Those individuals go out with the COLT team. We also provided funds to Interval House, which is a domestic violence organization, for 211 Orange County, Wise Place, Illumination Foundation, Mercy House, and CityNet. So last year, over 524 residents experiencing homelessness were assisted through street outreach. 639 were provided shelter. 55 were provided homeless prevention services, and 60 rapid rehousing. We had some unspent money last year, and we redirected those to the operations over at the link. So in regards to our CAPER, we are required to notice this, and that was done on July 30th for this meeting, and it will also be noticed again August 18th in 3 papers, in the Orange County Register, in La Opinion, and the Miniondus, and the Viet something or another in Vietnamese also. And the public review and comment period is from August 12th through September 3rd, so it'll capture the City Council meeting. Tonight is our public hearing, and we will also have another public hearing on September 3rd. It will go to City Council on September 3rd, and then, as I mentioned before, September 30th it is due to HUD. And I am going to turn it over to the presentation to Mikkel in a moment to speak about the citizen participation plan. But I wanted to talk to you, since that you had a question in regards to how ESG funds have been allocated. So there's going to be an opportunity this year that you can be thinking about. So in 2017 was the last time that we released an RFP out to the community. And with that RFP, we had renewals that we could renew just towards those organizations. Funds may change, but only those organizations were provided that opportunity to receive ESG funds. In November or December of this year, we're working on the timeline right now, we will be releasing a new RFP out to the community. I will be coming to you probably in September, and asking for one of you to participate on that selection committee. And how it works is the city of Santa Ana has entered into a collaboration with the County of Orange, with the cities of Anaheim and Garden Grove, and possibly the city of Irvine, who's actually received ESG funds for the first time this year. So they're going to be telling us soon if they're going to be joining the collaborative. And we all get together, we receive the applications together, so it makes it easier on us, it makes it easier on the nonprofits, and then we gather together with staff, and we have one commissioner from each of those cities, and we rank and rate all of the applications. We're doing that because we'd like to know what the other cities are doing and what the county is doing. It makes it more aware of what everyone else is doing and makes us think about where we might want to put our dollars. Each city then goes back and they can do with it whatever they would like. They take that information and we are not obligated to do something just because the city of Garden Grove is doing something with it. It's more informative to let us know what kind of the region is doing. We will probably be reviewing all of those applications in January. So that's kind of the time frame. I know that it's approximately the same time as you'll be doing the CDBG. We will probably get less applications, and the review process will most likely just be one day. So once those recommendations are made, they will come back in front of this commission in most likely March, and then to the City Council in May. And that's typically our process. So all of everything that I just mentioned here in regards to the CAPER, the ESG, CDBG, and home, that's all part of the annual action plan that will be coming before you at that time too. So when you were asked if this had come before you in the past, every year we bring the action plan to you and you have an opportunity to review. This coming year it'll be the action plan and the 5-year plan. So there will be a lot more community outreach. We will be having 5 or 6 meetings, and we're thinking about actually having a work study with just the commission to go over everything to help us plan for that 5-year con plan that we have. So I'm going to turn this over now to Mikkel, who's going to be speaking about the citizen participation plan. After that, if you have any additional questions about the CAPER or the plan, we're happy to answer those.
Terry, actually, we'll do it in order.
The CAPER now? Okay.
So they'll vote on, review the CAPER.
Okay.
And then
all right. Any questions in regards to the CAPER?
Am I to follow the public hearing script as is? Okay, so we will not be taking comments from the commissioners yet, but we will now be taking public comments. Recording secretary, do we have any written communications? No? Thank you. Well, now we would like to hear from the public. If you wish to speak, please complete a request to speak form and provide it to the recording secretary. Step forward to the podium. You may voluntarily state your name and address, and please be kind enough to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anyone here to speak on this subject, on the CAPER? No? Okay. Seeing as there are none, are there any commission... seeing as there are none, we will proceed. Commissioners, do you have any questions to staff? Okay. Commissioner Santana, Commissioner Sua, and then I also have questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
The question is for CDBG, I know there's a lot of applicants, but there's also Measure X. And so question of that is, can nonprofit double dip?
Can they have money from both Measure X if they were to receive that and CDBG? Mm-hmm. That would not be an exclusion of the CDBG requirement.
Okay. Thank you for answering the question.
Thank you. Commissioner Sua.
My question is on the ESG numbers of people served.
Mm-hmm.
Are those all individually counted, or is there overall?
Those are unduplicated numbers.
Thank you, Commissioner Sua. I also have a question in regards to the ESG funds and specifically the RFP. I'm wondering if this commission has any review of what the RFP looks like before it is released.
You know, we have not done that in the past because we're doing it as a collaborative with the other cities. but definitely in the review process.
Okay, so if commissioners had an interest in seeing what the RFP looks like before it is released, we're able to do that?
Sure.
Okay. So, well, based off comments, I think some commissioners would like to do that, so that we can take note of that so that it can come back to this commission.
Okay.
Thank you.
Can I say something on that?
Go ahead, Commissioner Perez.
I also though want to respect the process that we're working with other cities and other organizations, and I think it's a bigger process. So I think us taking a look at it is not an issue, but I think us changing it, it's a collaborative. So it's just something to think about in that process.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any additional commission member questions or comments? Great. Well, the public hearing is now closed. Do we have a motion to approve item number 4, public hearing, consolidated annual performance and availability?
I so move to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner Perez. Thank you, Commissioner Aguinaga. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Motion is approved by unanimous consent. We're now going to be moving on to item number 5. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the time and place for the public hearing of the Community Redevelopment and Housing Commission of the City of Santa Ana to approve an update to the Citizen Participation Plan. Will staff provide a summary of the staff reports?
Thank you, Chairwoman Ramos. I'd like to invite up Ms. Mikkel Daly, our Community Development Analyst, to provide a presentation on our staff report for this item.
Hello. This isn't actually part of my slides for the Citizen Participation Plan, but I thought I'd just point out this timeline for the CAPER, talking about when the notice was published, the public review, public hearing, and the City Council hearing, the deadlines. All of that information is what is provided in the Citizen Participation Plan. And so now I'll go ahead and start my presentation.
Thank you.
So this update to the Citizen Participation Plan, the last update was in 2014, and our current Citizen Participation Plan from 2014 is on the city website, as well as a draft of this current one that's going before you. The one for this year provides more detail and incorporates revisions to the Citizen Participation Plan as a result of HUD's final rule at 24 CFR Part 5. So, as far as what the Citizen Participation Plan is, it's a requirement of HUD for any recipients of CDBG, home, and ESG funds. And there are specific regulations that tell us what needs to be incorporated into this document. For the city, it's the policies and procedures to encourage community participation in the planning, implementation, and evaluation of the CDBG, home, and ESG programs. So this is throughout the whole consolidated planning process, which includes the action plan, the consolidated plan, the CAPER, and if I've missed anything else, I think it's on another slide. So this is the Citizen Participation Plan development process. Currently, we are at the top where a draft is made available for public review for 30 days. And it went for public review starting on August 12th. It'll end on September 12th. Within the Citizen Participation Plan, it tells you where you would find it for public review. It is on our website. It's at the library. It's also available as a hard copy document in City Hall on the 6th floor and the 8th floor. Before it's made available for public review, we put a notice in the Orange County Register, the Law Opinion, and the Vietnamese newspaper on July 23rd. And that's also dictated inside the Citizen Participation Plan, the timing of how far in advance you need to notify people that it's going to be available for public review. So the next step is the August public hearing, which is today. Also, we notice not only for the public review, but also for the public hearing, because the point is to get comments back. And so people can write comments on the hard copy that we have available at the 3 different locations, and they can also come to speak at the meeting in order to give their feedback. So the written comments are accepted, and then in September, we will be taking it to the City Council for a public hearing, a second public hearing, and the approval of the actual plan. Additional comments can be made or received during that meeting, and then all of the comments and the city's responses are attached to the plan, and then the plan is submitted to HUD. The timing of this particular revision is because we are coming up on our next consolidated plan, and there were changes to the regulations that require different things be included in the plan, and we wanted to make sure that we were following the proper process before we started our 5-year plan. And so this is just a snapshot of the requirements that HUD has for this particular plan. So the documents that it covers are the citizen participation plan, the 5-year consolidated plan, the annual action plan, the CAPER, the analysis of impediments, which is now called the assessment of fair housing, and then the other items as far as rules and regulations for public hearings, the notifications, when we need to offer technical assistance and how we do that, comments and complaints, appeals, and real property and anti-displacement and relocation. So that's the citizen participation plan in a nutshell. Do you have any questions?
Go ahead, Commissioner Ursula.
Thank you for your presentation. I just want to clarify, make sure I'm understanding. What got notified is what the plan for people to participate will look like. So is it informing them of the dates, or?
It informs them both of the date of the public hearing and also the dates that the citizen participation plan is available for review and the locations of where it's available to be reviewed at. There are also phone numbers on there specific to if somebody speaks Spanish or Vietnamese, they can call a number at City Hall and ask questions and receive additional help with the document if they have a difficulty reviewing it at the locations or on the website.
Great. And those dates are August 12th through September 12th, right?
That's the public review. It's a 30-day review period that's required.
So what is it that they're reviewing, I think, is what I'm not understanding.
The actual citizen participation plan. I think you have a copy in your packet.
Thank you.
Are there any other comments or questions? Go ahead, Commissioner Perez.
How do we measure success as far as this process? Have we given it a value? 10% of our population that we serve gives an input.
Well, we don't have any performance metrics to measure success of how effective we are in citizen participation. What you traditionally see in our commission meetings, city council meetings, and other efforts that we attempt is not very much participation by the community in our efforts, and so we. Again, to answer your question, though, we don't have any performance metrics.
It's a little bit of a trick question. And the reason I asked the question, and I think this is the part that I struggle a lot with, and I kind of talk about this process, is I understand what we do as far as following regulations and guidelines. And I think the struggle that I have is we know there's low participation. So either we're going to say, okay, there's low participation and there's always going to be low participation. So here's the date, here's the email, here, we have it here, and it is what it is. Or we're going to say, okay, strategically, we're going to try some new strategies, try some new techniques, bring in a consultant, bring in a firm to, get some more meat. Because I think that's the struggle that I kind of see, is that we know the community's involved. We know there's all these advocacies, but again, no one's here. No one's taking a look at this. And I think, I don't know if I'm okay with that. And it's nothing that we're doing wrong. And I'm going to approve it. I'm going to say, hey, you're doing your job. But I think, and I don't know if it's going to be us here on the dais where we say, no, this is what we're looking for. And if it's CDGB funds, to hire organizations to go out and really get input from our communities, or even if it's from our developers that have these new developments saying, hey, by the way, your case managers, can you please reach out to them, give us input, are we doing, are these funds being utilized as consolidation plan, meeting the needs, of you. And I just think, I would love to work more collaboratively to kind of come up with some measured outcomes and goals, because I think if we try some of those things, I'm okay saying, hey, we tried. Santa Ana went above and beyond, and this is how we did it. Because as I sit here and I look at all the stats and I hear the work that you're doing, I think we're above and beyond in almost 80% of everything we do. I just think there's a couple little areas. I mean, we're only one of 5 cities. I know, Justin, you talked about the other day, only one of 5 cities, utilizing all our funds. And I just think this is that one area for me that I struggle with, is we don't see a lot of participation in this process.
Go ahead, Commissioner Garcia.
What I wanted to ask or just comment on, it ties to what Commissioner Bettis just talked about. So in looking at the publications where the notice was posted, this is the OC Register, La Opinion, and then the Vietnamese publication. So are these the only 3 media outlets that we promote this notice, that we insert this notice in?
Yes, those are the 3 standard media outlets that we utilize. So when we publish those public notices, they come at a cost. Tara, you would know that cost. How much does it cost?
It's probably about $800 to $1,200 a publication, because we have to translate it.
Yeah.
Per placement or for a set amount of time?
Per placement.
Per placement.
Well, and we only place it.
And we only place it once?
Yeah.
Okay, have we ever kind of reassessed how we approach that? Because I think there's other online publications that could be, I mean, I don't know what exactly it entails, but that it might be a little bit more cost effective. People read, there's other online publications that might take these types of announcements. Again, I don't know the rules or guidelines or how that works, but this three publications to me is not that many. There's more available, like the LA Times. Like I personally wouldn't know about this notice because I don't read I don't have a subscription to the OC Register. I subscribe to LA Times, so things like that. So if you some of us might miss it, so. Are there other ways of promoting above and beyond what you already do, where you don't spend a lot more money?
It's posted on the city website, as well as the calendar of the meetings, and the agendas are available on the city website, so people who are, tuned in to their interests in the city, they would be able to access the information there.
Okay, that's good.
A couple other things I wanted to mention is, now that we have social media, we will be able to utilize that, which we haven't in the past. A nixle will be going out in this 30-day comment period. It has not gone out yet. And when we are preparing our 5-year document, there will be many opportunities for the community to participate. We'll be having some meetings in the daytime for businesses and for nonprofits, and then we will also be holding meetings in the evening and on the weekends for residents. So there will be a much larger push when we're doing that 5-year consolidated plan. And Daisy is here, who's going to be giving a presentation on the census, but she also is heading up some of our communication efforts in the city. And I don't want to put her on the spot, but I bet that she can provide a few additional insights to you on that.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. Chairwoman.
Go ahead, Commissioner Ursula.
I want to thank you, Commissioner Perez, for bringing that up, and also Commissioner Garcia. I agree, and really think that it takes resources, and we know that community engagement also requires, and there are much more effective strategies that require like door-to-door engagement, and what you're talking about with forums and meetings. This might overlap into another point, on our agenda, but I'm wondering if there are not funds that the city can direct into this. Is it possible to have CDBG funds, be directed towards some of this community engagement efforts in order to see better outreach? And it can be, just an open process like CDBG is. There might be nonprofits out there that already do this or are engaged. There might even be citizen groups, neighborhood associations that want to take the lead in getting a little bit, activating the community and helping them inform these plans, because I think you put in time into creating these. We publish them. There's a window of time, and we're doing our due diligence. But again, I agree that there are strategies out there that are effective, that we might be. It would be best to, prioritize and perhaps direct resources to.
Thank you, Commissioner Ursula. And on that, I also have a few comments. So, from my understanding, we could direct CDBG funds to do that type of work to a nonprofit, or I don't know if the commissioners have interest in redirecting that money to city staff so that there is that capacity. But from what I'm thinking right now, if the commission has a strong enough interest to see organizations funded to do this type of civic engagement work, this commission can make that a priority for future CDBG funding. So from what I last remember, I think there were 4 areas that were of higher interest to the commission. And when we were grading these applications with our rubric, those organizations that were going to meet one of those areas would receive 1 or 2 bonus points. So if the commission feels very strongly about this, when we review that CDBG process for the upcoming year, we can make that a category. So civic engagement, or organizations that would do civic engagement type work. But staff, please correct me if I'm wrong. As long as it's being provided as a service. Yeah, I don't know. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, there's a balance there, right? So if the organization who would then be considered a contractor on one side of the balance of the city, or consultant of the city, doing outreach and engagement on behalf of our community development department, for the purposes of our consolidated plan or our annual action plan, that would have to come out of our admin funding, which 100% of those admin funds were allocated for staffing purposes for fiscal year 19-20 as approved by City Council. Now, if that's the delicate balance. If the organization is instead doing civic engagement as a public service, in terms of framing it, and it's all about how the scope of work is designed and proposed, to ensure that it's not blurring over the lines of serving city staff needs and city administration of the CDBG program funds, as opposed to more as a public service, so there's that fine line that it would have to be delicately balanced and ensure that it's reviewed to the fullest integrity.
So this commission could create a category of interest that was civic engagement or something broad along those lines?
The next item on the agenda is actually the ad hoc committee for our CDBG public service application, and so the commissioners who are appointed to that ad hoc committee could make that recommendation when it's brought, and then when the application is brought back to the full commission for approval.
Thank you. I saw a few hands go up. Commissioner Aguinaga.
I have an idea, and that would be free. We have a lot of neighborhood associations. And I know for a fact, because I've been doing that with the Orange County Vector Control, to talk to the leaders. And what they do, they put it on the newsletters. That's free. It will contribute to the city, and the message will be to the community. We're talking about different organizations, neighborhood organizations. Can we do that?
sorry, can you frame the last part of that question again?
Just to let the people know, like everybody's concerned about how the community is gonna find out about participating in these meetings and have an input. I received the emails, so I know what's going on. It's my choice if I wanna go to those meetings, right? You cannot force anybody, whether you go or you not. So it'll be free of cost for the city if we send, I don't know if we can do that though, to the leaders on the community. For instance, I belong to my organization, which is Thor Park. They will be more than happy to put it let the people know, and it's up to the people to come to the meetings. But I don't know if that's.
So again, that fine line, right? So if you're saying to contract with a consultant who will, primarily do neighborhood outreach, advising neighborhood associations like Floral Park and other members of ComLink to participate in these kind of public hearing processes and public and input processes, that would be very much city-centric, city-serving, city administrative services that, in fact, we already provide that through 2 full-time positions in our planning and building agency, Scott Cutler and Margarita Macedonia. But the other side of that, if you're conceptualizing an organization that holds leadership workshops to build leaders who will further engage the community and educate themselves on city processes and city programs, and then educate their neighborhoods, and hold workshops throughout the year to try and empower leaders, youth, neighborhood association leaders to better engage with their city government. That would be on the other end of the spectrum of a public service. So it's again, that's how it's framed and how it's structured.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Commissioner Garcia?
I just wanted to add that I just would really caution us about using a contractor for these types of services. I would like to know more in the future about, or in this case or other cases, when we hear about these reports, what is the community engagement component? How are we going to reach our particular audience? Because it sounds like Terry brought up a few ways that we're doing that. Social media, the Nixle, those are cost-effective ways of reaching our audience. And then there's the media outreach, which is through the 3 publications that we're doing. And I'm glad that we have both. My question was geared more towards the media that we're using to publicize this information. So we just, I think there's more publications out there that can reach the audience that we're trying to get to as well. Maybe we can go with explore those channels as well. So I just don't know what the city's requirements are for those, what you look for in a publication to make this announcement. Because I think there's more out there that are digital based as well and have a wide readership, or that our readers are interested in. So that was my thing.
And just briefly to answer your question about the requirements for the city for public notice, we are required to put the written notice into a publication of general circulation within the city, so that's why we have to do it in the newspapers. But of course you can't do additional outreach and additional notices beyond that as well, like you're talking about on social media or other online outlets as well.
Okay. So it has to be a general interest, like a newspaper that's not geared towards specific audience, like it's political or anything. It has to be general.
Right. There's some specific language that defines what type of newspaper, but it's the general circulation. So that's why you see the OC Register included, and then we try to get to various languages as well, and they will have newspapers that are general circulation.
So it's based on circulation numbers and readership.
Right, but it doesn't have to be as high of a circulation as like an OC Register. That's actually going above the minimum requirement. A lot of times you'll see, I think there's the OC Recorder or Reporter is one that's often used as well, but we don't see as many people getting that notice. So using those who register is actually even a higher newspaper than what we could use.
Do you know what section they publicize it in?
Legal section.
Legal, okay.
That's my favorite part. Can I just build on your comments? I think you're right. It's the audience we do want to target, whether we want to reach the OC Weekly. But have we had a broader discussion about coordinating with the colleges, perhaps maybe the school district? Because there's back to school nights. There's perfect opportunity for tabling as well. Our wellness centers, our student government. It's just honestly, I know that staff is overworked. You guys have a lot on your plate, but I think if we really want to plan out the next 5 years and really get a clear understanding of the community, I think we should be very open and welcoming to the process. So I don't know if that's Daisy who's responsible, because I know this will be thrown on your plate, but this is just, as you can tell, this diocese is very diverse and they come from different backgrounds, but I think a little bit beyond the OC Register and the La Opinion and be about, so.
Thank you. Commissioner Perez, did you have a comment you wanted to make?
I just wanted to echo what Commissioner Santana said. And, in our education system, we have a thing called LCAP, which is Local Control Accountability Program. And we have so many metrics of evaluation, from focus groups to sending stuff out, from walking door to door, from our parent engagement nights. And I look at Santana as a community that really wants to be involved, that wants to be engaged. And I think there's so many opportunities and avenues, even if you look at our summer nights program with Neutral Ground and the other Madison Association. Like, those are avenues where there's hundreds of individuals that are appreciating the work that you're doing, that we're all doing, that we could get feedback. And I think, just those outlets and those opportunities are there. When you talked about our fiscal money and finances, I know we didn't hire all of our staff. So there was money there. And to me, that's being strategic, where we have money in our personnel because we didn't hire staff due to the delay of the process, where we can then utilize some of those funds then actually to go out and hire a consultant to support staff to go out and do above and beyond. So I think there is mechanisms, and I think sometimes, it's just working together, saying, okay, what can we do? This is the situation we're in. And as we talk about all of us here being diverse, I think the big thing is we're going to go back to our communities. And you're doing a great job. I just think that we can help each other, support each other, just to do a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Ursula.
I want to thank the Judson for the clarification on how that can be possible through CDBG as well. And I do think that we have some, resources in community groups that can be supportive and join this effort. And then I'm just wanting to clarify and recall that there are limitations to how much money can come into admin, right, to the city staff.
Yes.
Because, otherwise that would, if it were possible, I do think it is a priority, but thank you for offering the other way. I think what you describe as leadership trainings, sustained engagement is what's going to do it. Yes. I think even if there is more information out there in social media or whatnot, it's not something that you necessarily think it's for you or that you're going to know how to engage in. But if there is a sustained, a place where you're learning, these are all of the processes, these are all of the dates, these are the ways to engage, even support in, this is how you would write a public comment, or this is why you should do it. So all of those things, I think, are going to do well in the hands of community members that want to make this difference.
Thank you, Commissioner Ursula. Any more commission member questions or comments? Great. So I think we went a little bit out of order for the public hearing script. Madam Recording Secretary, do we have any written communications for the citizen participation plan? Great. I'm now going to ask if there are any members of the public that would like to speak on this matter. Members of the public? Did you want to speak on the citizen participation plan? Go ahead. So if you wish to speak, please complete a request to speak form and provide it to the recording secretary. Step forward to the podium. You may voluntarily state your name and address. It is not necessary. And please be kind enough to limit your comments to 3 minutes. Go ahead, Carla.
Hi, I'm Carla Juarez. I've been living in Santa Ana for a very long time. I just want to let you guys know that ladies and guys, I did not receive any notification in regards to the City of Santa Ana Citizen Participation Plan. So I would like to think that I'm very active. So I didn't get an email. I just checked my email, and I didn't see anything on Facebook, so there's nothing there. And I even looked through Instagram to see if I missed it. And I just want to let you know that, there's definitely something that's been missing. So as a very small individual in Santa Ana, I want to let you know I did not get it. Or notification through the mail, which I usually do for like the city council meetings or the meetings that are in the community for Hedinger Park. I usually also get those as well, or an email, or even a call. But I haven't heard anything. It's just luckily hearing about it now because I came with a friend today. But other than that, I would have totally missed it. And it's definitely something that is very crucial and important to the residents because a lot of people are being evicted from housing, affordable housing, or they have a Section 8 voucher. And this would be the best way where it says anti-displacement and relocations, where people could really voice their opinions and concerns and be part of the solution and hopefully avoid other people from being displaced. I just want to add that. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. Is there a response from staff or commission members on the comments that were made?
If I may just respond, the current citizen participation plan that the city and our staff were operating under was adopted in 2014, and it was I think it was 12 pages, right? And we prior to, as Mikhail explained briefly, prior to engaging in our consolidated planning process for this forthcoming 5-year period, we really felt it necessary that we wanted to ensure our citizen participation plan was reviewed, revised, and updated to the fullest integrity and compliance with the federal regulations. And so we took this 2014 plan, we actually sent it over to one of our consultants who works with several jurisdictions on their consolidated planning process for their review. And they came back to us and said, you've got a lot to update here. And they did a full comprehensive review of the document. And so the document that you're seeing it's twice as long as the previous citizen participation plan. And in terms of the quality and integrity of the document, that's been verified by staff. It's also been verified by a consultant we work with who works with several other jurisdictions. And I'd like to say it's twice as good as the previous one. It's twice as effective, and it ensures that the city is doing everything possible to conduct outreach and engagement in compliance with the federal regulations for our programs.
Thank you, Judson. And I just want to thank Carla for those comments, and I think she brought up very important things. So I would just like to ask staff that we make sure that as soon as possible we can send out that nixel that we can have. I know Daisy just walked out, but have her post about this on Facebook, on Instagram. And as Commissioner Aguinaga said, I would also encourage that we reach out to the neighborhood association leaders and ask that they communicate this information to their memberships. I know the neighborhood associations do phone calls to remind members of their meetings, so maybe along with that recorded message, they can also add some information on this public comment period. Thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner Soa.
One more comment. Also, thank you to Carla for the public comment. And then just to mention the document that I see on the exhibit, on the attachments that are numbered 5 through, I see that it's many pages and that it's also very dense reading material. And so one just additional comment is sometimes a visual, and I know that in my organization we work to put together visuals that can be, direct and clear and helpful and in summarizing or highlighting specific information. So I appreciate that it's a lot more thorough and informative, but just another comment as to how to make it more accessible.
Thank you, Commissioner Ursula. Are there any other comments from commissioners? Great. Seeing as there are none, I would like to thank each speaker for their comments, and I would like to let you know that your comments will be considered in the reports. The public hearing is now closed. Do I have a motion to approve item number 5, public hearing, approve an update to the citizen participation plan?
I so move.
Second.
Thank you, Commissioner Perez. Thank you, Vice Chair Santana. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The matter is approved by unanimous consent. Thank you. We will now move on to item number 6. Appoint ad hoc committee for community development block grant public service application for fiscal year 2020 through 2021. So the recommended action is that we appoint at least 2 commissioners, but we can appoint more. I would like to open up a nomination process for anybody to nominate others or to self-nominate themselves if you have interest on serving on this commission.
We need to make sure that there is no more, that we don't break up the ground now.
So, thank you for bringing that up. So, I believe that we have a maximum of 3 commissioners that we can have on this ad hoc committee.
Thank you.
Thank you,
We should have
Commissioner Aguinaga.
we should have rewrote that to
So,
appoint
maximum
no
of 3.
more than 3.
Okay, thank you. So we can have up to 3 commissioners serve on this ad hoc committee?
Can I make a comment?
Go ahead, Commissioner Perez.
I know we're going to be also talking about potentially in our next meeting the process of having someone sit on the RFP process for the other grant. So I really would like to sit on that other grant and not be part of this process. So I just, unless there's somebody else that also wants to sit on the other one, I just think, I would say I would withdraw from this process, but my intention would be to be part of that other process, if possible. So just, that's.
Thank you, Commissioner Perez, for your transparency. I'll also be transparent and say that I don't have interest in serving on either.
And neither do I. So.
Okay.
I'm interested.
Commissioner Ursula, you're interested in serving on this ad hoc committee?
Yes.
Great, that's one. We need at least one.
Well,
more.
I'll sit on both.
Okay.
I have no problem sitting on both.
No, I'm just.
Commissioner
can I say
Garcia,
something?
go ahead.
I'm just surprised that there's a lot of us that are not.
Yes, I am
Just-
Oh,
too.
mine is for very specific reasons that I'll share later.
Okay, because we thought this would be a good idea, so hopefully we have
Yes.
enough people to participate.
So, I would like.
How many sessions are there? That's the one question I did want to ask.
It will be at the direction of the ad hoc committee. Our intent is to, once the ad hoc committee is formed, is to convene the first meeting, and it'll be dependent on what direction we receive from the ad hoc committee, right? Yeah.
David and I will be the staff on the ad hoc committee, and our plan was to send a follow-up email after the commissioners were appointed, and we're planning on a meeting once a week, either a conference call or in person, to discuss the application and the rubric, beginning with a meeting basically to go over the details of what will be required in the application, things that we cannot change, just so you're informed.
Thank you. I'd actually like to nominate 2 commissioners. I'd like to nominate Commissioner Jim Perez because you've had very great questions throughout. And I'd like to nominate Commissioner Garcia because you've participated in this process multiple years and you've seen how it has changed. So I think you could bring very invaluable feedback.
I second that.
Well, do you all accept your nominations? This is all very informal. We don't have to go through an election process.
I accept, but I really want to also be on the other one. I'm just throwing that out. I really, really want to be on.
Excuse me, Commissioner, Perez, which other one are you talking about? The emergency shelter?
No, it's the ESG.
ESGs.
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah.
Emergency shelter.
Yes.
The ESG funds.
Yeah, that's.
I have no problem being on
I
both.
participate in that one. It's very, very good. Excuse me, I have to ask this. Why are we doing the ad hoc if we already have the other one?
It was requested by this
We
commission.
requested it.
I don't think you were here at that time.
Yeah, you may not have been on the commission
Oh,
yet.
well.
We requested.
We requested and nobody wants to do it.
Check.
How about that?
No, I think there is. I mean, as of now,
Oh, yeah, I
Commissioner
want-
Perez,
I
just-
folks to have equal opportunity.
we're all being very considerate of each other.
Yes, I do. Okay, so Mikel, you said that the meetings could be conducted over the phone. I just don't know during the day how much time I have, like, to come into the city and be part of the meetings. I just wanted to know more about how that would look like. If you're willing to do conference calls, I can do that. I just have a really busy schedule at work.
Yeah, we don't have a plan set in stone right now. The idea was just to meet once a week, either in person or through conference calls. We could probably do some of it by email. We could send you documents and then you suggest revisions. Yeah, it would be nice to have at least one, maybe two meetings in person so we can all look at the documents.
I agree. I would prefer like a face-to-face dialogue or over the phone.
Yeah.
Just wanted to get an idea of what you were thinking.
Yeah,
when
just
you was working.
four meetings, basically,
Okay.
once a week, because it needs to be done before the end of September.
Okay. So it's a 30-day window of completing the process.
Yeah,
Just based on what I
because
saw.
we want to
Okay.
present the final to the commission in October.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, Commissioner, so you self-nominated yourself,
I
right?
did, and I just want to just express support for the idea of bringing this ad hoc together. I did not participate in this last CDBG, so I'm glad to have two other commissioners that did. I did receive phone calls from council members and applicants, and there are several questions that I would bring to this ad hoc as well. So I'm just wanting to support that we're doing it, and I'm thankful for the flexibility.
Thank you. Well, seeing as those that have been nominated or have self-nominated are all interested, I'd just like to do a quick straw poll. Everybody is okay with this?
Yes.
With Commissioner Garcia, Commissioner Perez, and Commissioner Ursula serving on the CDBG ad hoc committee.
Good choice. Thank you. For
Great.
volunteering.
And we don't.
And don't forget me on the ESG committee as well. Just throwing that out there.
So do we need a motion that they be the members that serve on this ad hoc committee?
I think actually technically the chair has the authority to appoint the ad hoc committee members. So you can do a vote
Okay.
of the whole commission if you prefer, or you can just say, hearing the comments from the commission, I'm going to appoint these three to the ad hoc committee.
Well, with my chair authority, I appoint Commissioner Ursula, Commissioner Perez, and Commissioner Garcia. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Great. So very quickly before we go to the work study session, I know there were members of the public. I just want to move on to public comments really quickly. Does the public have any comments that you wish to share with the commission? Please know that you have 3 minutes to speak. Yeah, come on.
Actually don't want to say my name. I don't want retaliation or the organization itself. I'm not going to name it. But my parents are seniors that have been living in the unit for 27 years. Now they're being evicted just because their voucher is a 1-bedroom and not a 2. The voucher itself belongs to my parents and not to the property, and it's under affordable housing. It's under the affordable housing list. It has redevelopment money, it has rehab money. The loan agreement is not very clear. So my question is, how can you guys help me keep my parents in their unit without them being evicted? Because they're gonna end up in the streets. I don't have nowhere to take them. And the Section 8 voucher, to find a property that actually takes Section 8 vouchers is very hard. It's time consuming, and I've done it, And it's very hard to find a unit that will take, or any apartments, because even the affordable properties have a wait list. So that's some of my questions. I don't know what you guys could do, but my parents are seniors and the eviction is almost done. So I don't know what else to do.
Thank you for your comments. I just want to refer to staff quickly if there's any immediate staff response as to what staff may be able to do or what this commission may be able to do in this
Thank you,
circumstance.
Chairwoman Ramos. Staff are meeting with Ms. Rubio and her legal counsel regarding this matter sometime this week or early next week.
Commissioner Ursula.
Are we still able to comment on the matter?
Not at this time. It's not an agendized item. Usually public comment is just for the public to provide their comments to. It's not supposed to turn into more of a discussion. If you'd like to make a quick comment, that's fine, but we can't turn it into
Yeah, just my comment is to remind us of a report we got on homelessness and a high percentage being seniors. And so I just want to remind us that that's something we care about. And so I'm glad the city's looking into this matter.
Thank you. Thank you for your comments. I believe we will have one more public comment.
Hi again. I think it's very emotional for Andreina to be able to talk. So maybe I could help provide a little bit more information. So her parents are obviously they're seniors, and they've lived in Santa Ana for all their 27 years, or they've lived in this affordable housing development for 27 years. But they're being evicted. And yeah, hopefully I could also go to that meeting so I could provide some more input. But basically the reason why I'm here is I'm trying to see what information could you guys provide as the housing committee that would provide protections for people that live in affordable housing. Now, her parents, not only do they live in affordable housing, but they also have a Section 8 voucher, and they're also seniors. So I know that I don't know all of you guys, I know only some of you ladies and gentlemen, but I hope you guys do take a personal interest for this affordable housing development. We're asking them is to drop the notice. I don't know if that's the legal term, basically to terminate the notice or to cancel the notice or to file it away. I don't say this to provide any cruelty, but they're very old, and I knock on wood, but I'm pretty sure, I'm not pretty sure, because I could probably die before them. But my point is, this affordable housing development will probably not have to wait long before they could just rent it to someone else. I don't know if I make that point. That it is within your reach, because this affordable housing development has a contract with Santa Ana, and all they really need to do is drop the eviction notice. So her parents are paying the rent. It's not a problem. All they have to do is drop the notice, and then everything else we can work it out. For a senior person to lose a home is not just losing a home, but also they already know how to commute within Santa Ana. So they have everything. They already know the bus system. I know that might sound funny, but they already know the bus system, how to get through, how to get back, and they already know their neighbors. They already know everything that has to do with the Santa Ana because they've lived here all their lives. So losing their home is not just a house. It's like a community. It's family. It's independence. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. We're now going to move on to our work study session, Census 2020 presentation by Daisy Press of the City Manager's Office.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Just give me a second to set up.
We won't run against it.
Go ahead, Daisy.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Daisy Prez. I've presented to this commission before. I used to be the Housing Programs Analyst. I am now the Senior Management Assistant with the City Manager's Office. And I have been tasked with being the lead for Census 2020 for the city. Judson invited me to present to this group, which I thought would be a fantastic opportunity. And I can touch on a couple of things that were discussed during the comp plan update and the citizen participation plan, as it'll directly tie into some of the things that I'll be talking about.
Very quickly, are there copies of this for our members of the public?
Yes.
Thank you.
So the census is a high priority for the city of Santa Ana, and there's a couple of reasons for that. First and foremost, participation in the census is mandatory through the Constitution, but a large piece of the census translates to funding. For the city of Santa Ana specifically, we receive over $100 million a year in grants, and most of those are either through the federal government or from the federal pass through the state. So the census is every 10 years, and that translates to $1 billion locally for Santa Ana. We want to make sure that everyone is counted so that we receive our fair share of funding. A lot of the programs and services that go through this Housing Commission are a direct result of those census allocations. It also translates to congressional representation and redistricting, so our local, state, federal representatives. And then our planning department, multiple government agencies use this data to make policy and planning decisions. So there's several barriers that have been identified for this upcoming census. One of those was already identified internally with our complete address list. So since probably 2 years ago, our planning department has been working hard looking at all of the maps of the city to make sure that we have all of our addresses. That way when notices go out, and we actually try to go out and knock on doors, that we have all that information and it's accurate. This 2020 census will be the first census where people can respond electronically. They can go online, they can do it on their phone. But if people don't have access to internet, that doesn't help them. And given that internet will be the first and primary option of response, we want to make sure that more people have access to internet. We'll also be promoting our technology centers that we have at different community centers, as well as working with our school district wellness centers to access additional internet. Additionally, there are other barriers that are at the state and federal level, such as the immigration or citizenship question that was teetering if it was going to be on the census or not. It has been confirmed that it will not be included, but it has been an area of concern, and I think the damage for that question has already been done. So we're just going to continue to tackle that head on. So as you can see in this map, this is based on census response rates from the previous census. And we have several what the census would define as hard to count areas. If you take a look at these different percentages, you'll see that none of these represent 0%. So in our entire city of Santa Ana, we as a city consider all of the city as hard to count. So we are not only strategizing in these hard to count areas, but we're trying to target the entire city as a whole with the higher concentration of our efforts in these red areas and then like the dark blue and purple area. So who are these hard to count populations as defined by the census? If you take a look at this.
Daisy, sorry, can you
go
quickly
back?
tell me? So are those percentages the number of people that were counted or the number of people that
were not counted?
That were not counted.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
So there's various hard to count populations, and as you can see with the CDBG program specifically, there are programs and services that have been recommended for funding through this body that target a lot of these groups. So part of our strategy is to focus and partner with our CDBG nonprofit partners to go out and access some of these hard to count communities. We'll also be partnering with a lot of other groups, and I'll go through those shortly. So we recognize that the city of Santa Ana, especially staff, cannot do this alone. So we've partnered at various levels to try to conduct as comprehensive of an outreach plan as we can. So there's larger partners, so we have regional and state collaborations. The county has a complete count committee, the state has a complete count committee, and this U.S. Census Bureau, we're all working on this. But we've all come together through a group, and we call it our Santa Ana Complete Count Committee. We'll be meeting, we meet on a monthly basis. We'll be meeting tomorrow morning at 9 a.m., and you're all welcome to join if you'd like. So it's where all of these different partners, and where's the list? I'll discuss it a little further. So we have probably 30 groups on our list that come together, and we talk about how we can target different community groups, different events that we can do, etc. We'll also be doing a large social media outreach plan. So I oversee all of the communications for the city of Santa Ana, the external communications, and we found that when we use social media, it costs us an average of 1 to 5 cents per person to actually reach someone. So, yeah.
Do you boost the posts? Like, do you pay money to target, because by boosting you can target the audience?
Yeah. So we rarely boost for just general events. If we have a specific item that we're trying to target, we will boost. But just in general, we've had a lot of organic growth. So in the last year that I've been working with the city manager's office, we've doubled our reach, and we have about 50,000 followers across all of our platforms. And then we'll be doing a really large social media strategy just to gain additional followers, because we have found that we're really successful and we can target different groups specifically on social media in a cost-effective way. So we partnered with the Housing Division recently to promote a down payment assistance workshop, and we saw a significant increase in the turnout. Just especially through Instagram, we were able to target that first-time home buyer population, and we had all sorts of people that came out here that have never heard of any of the city programs before. So we want to use that same approach for census. One of our plans is we see millennials as a huge asset for households in the city. Their parents may not necessarily speak English or may not be fluent with technology, but if we can target the millennials and show them why it's important for their family or their household to respond, hopefully they can be our champions and encourage their family to participate. And then we'll also be having a robust community ambassador program, and I'll be discussing that in further detail. So how much time do we have and when is the census? So if you look at this handout that you were given, there's 3 dates on there that are the most important. So the census actually will go live on March 12th of next year. So you think March is a long time from now, but it's really not. And we have to try to reach everybody in Santa Ana, and we have like 6 months to do this. So right now we are in our education phase where we are just going out to as many events as we can to try to just let people know what the census is. A lot of our population has no idea what the census is or what it means, why do we have to do it, they're afraid of it, etc. So we're just trying to educate them on the facts. As we get closer, we'll be going through a motivational phase where we'll continue to encourage them to respond, and then after the census goes live, we'll be actually doing different events and outreach opportunities to actually get people to respond. So we've already started this educational phase. Our staff has attended over 10 outreach events where we've come to contact with over 7,000 folks. So we've been really busy, nights, weekends, you name it. We've tried to go out. We were at Summer Night Lights multiple times for both Madison and El Salvador. We were at National Night Out. We were at the street breakfast. We were at neighborhood block parties. We're trying to go where the people are instead of having them come to us, and we've seen a great success. We were also at the Back to School Bash, and there was thousands of kids there and local parents where we were able to give them information. And then, again, we want to motivate people to respond. So tell them why this is important. We'll be doing a series of informational videos as well, and we're going to have those displayed everywhere we can. So besides just Channel 3, because I don't know how many of you watch Channel 3, but it's not a large audience, at least that we've seen. So if you're coming to City Hall and you're waiting for the planning counter or a business license or to pay your water bill, it's going to be on all the TVs. And then we're working with different health partners as you're waiting to be seen at the doctor. If it's a doctor in Santa Ana, it's going to have our PSA there. If you go to the Mexican consulate and you're waiting to get a passport, it'll be displayed there. We want to try to get as many eyes and ears on this information as possible so that once that census comes, it's like, oh yeah, I've seen it. I know what it's all about. I want to respond. It's easy. It'll take 5 minutes. Instead of, oh, I don't know what this is, toss it, right? We want to make this as familiar and as welcoming and as easy to understand as possible. And then we'll be doing a series of events, like I mentioned, once the census goes live from March to July with different community groups. And the timing for this census is very key with some of the different outreach efforts that this group is doing. So 2020 is also the development of the city's new strategic plan, but also the 5-year consolidated plan. So we will be working hand in hand with the Community Development Department. As we are conducting outreach and holding events, we will be also conducting surveys and doing different things for the consolidated plan. So we all want to come together to be as effective as possible, to get as much community input in various efforts. Okay. So the Complete Count Committee, who's actually involved in this process, and it's really anyone and everyone that wants to be a part of it. The census affects everyone, whether they'd like to believe it or not. It affects housing programs, it affects how much money goes to schools, how much money goes to Medi-Cal, all, you name it, all gamuts of like government sector. Census impacts that program or service. So we're trying to bring everyone together to leverage our resources as much as possible. So here's a brief list of some of the folks that have been around the table so far, and this list only continues to grow. So there's different government entities there, healthcare providers, churches, schools, etc. And I'd be open to getting additional suggestions for groups that we should reach out to at the end of the presentation. So where are we going to be? We've tried to be as active as possible. Our staff continues to shrink at the city manager's office. We just lost 2 more interns, and I think we're just down to 2 of us and the city manager. So at our next complete count committee, which is tomorrow, we will be tasking our committee members to volunteer and help us actually attend these outreach events. So hopefully, given that long list of people, we can get some of them to help participate, because this is important for all of us, and we're able to leverage and attend as many of these resources as possible. So just a couple of upcoming events that we'll be attending. There will be a pool party for the 150th anniversary on August 31st. There will also be the Mariachi Festival in downtown in September, as well as Fiestas Patrias, 5K, 150th celebration, etc. So any large city event will be there. Also, if we get invited to a neighborhood association meeting, we'll be there. So I'll be at a neighborhood association meeting tomorrow night to reach out to that neighborhood and get them to participate. We'll also be at Comlink next Thursday to also discuss the census, and we're going to discuss the Census Ambassador Program. So the idea is similar to a model that like Latino Health Access has done, also Santa Ana College has done, where we get local neighborhood leaders to be our champions and our trusted messengers. So we have some funding allocated towards this ambassador program, and we're hoping to partner with the County of Orange for additional funding to be able to support various community events where we can encourage community participation in general while also promoting the census. Okay. So one of our upcoming strategies we'll be doing, as I mentioned, is we're partnering with the CDBG nonprofits to be part of these ambassadors. So we'll be meeting with them at the end of the month, as the funding that we receive for the CDBG program is directly tied to census. So we're going to be asking them to step up, to be a trusted voice for us, and to help us reach some of those hard-to-count populations that I mentioned earlier. We'll also be working with our internal departments, as all of these groups, they rely on the funding to have to fund their projects, as well as like our planning and building department. A lot of the work that they do, the information, our general plan, housing element, et cetera, these planning documents, it's all census data. So next steps, we'll be working with those 2 groups to identify different strategies that we can conduct. We'll be hoping to expand our complete count committee and work with as many folks as possible. We've also collaborated with different cities to get ideas from them as to what they're doing. We'll continue to reach out to other cities moving forward. We'll be asking for more money. Right now we have $125,000 allocated from the city's general fund to do outreach efforts. But additionally, there's like my staff time and a couple other staff members that are supplemented to be able to do census outreach. So I'm working directly with like Scott and Margarita, other folks from planning, and then different departments to be able to do outreach events. So that concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Commissioner Perez, do you have a question?
Yes. I know there's been a lot of bad publicity and conversation, in regards to Trump and census and some of the stuff. What are some strategies that the city's doing to reassure its community, members, how critical and important, these numbers are? Because there's that fear factor that, I'm still continuous here and people talk about.
Mm-hmm. So we identify that as a challenge, and we have our general complete count committee, but we also have a subcommittee, and most of those members are part of our sanctuary city policy advisory group, which are directly tackling immigration-based issues. So the city council, they stepped up and they funded $200,000 for this upcoming year for universal representation, and they've funded it for the last couple of years. So, we're working directly with our legal defense partner that we've had, and partnering with some of those residents that have received assistance for us, so that they can be our champions and say, I can attest that the city of Santa Ana has been an ally. They helped my family out. Do not be afraid. And at some of these events that we've been at, we've already had folks say that. We have videos, and that's a powerful message where you can hear your neighbor attest to that. If it comes from the government, might not trust us.
Absolutely.
But if it comes from their neighbor and they're like, that word of mouth referral is key, right? So if it comes from them and they can attest, especially having gone through that process, their life is at stake, and the city has stepped up to help them. We think that's an invaluable tool that we can use.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Aguinaga.
Actually, that was the same question, because people's going to be afraid. Many of the people that we have, the residents, they don't know what the sanctuary city is. So it's going to be a little difficult, but we can be like the voice. I'm involved in a lot of community outreach groups, and I can be the voice to make sure that they count. Because if we don't count these people, we're never going to have the money that we need to fix the streets and many other services that we really need.
Yes, exactly.
Especially the right street. A lot of
all about
holes in there. What's the matter? Who should I talk to, Daisy?
I have good news on that one. So Great Street actually was awarded construction. It should be funded soon, up until where the streetcar line impacts it. Then they're waiting to do construction on the streetcar so that they don't have to redo what they just did, and then they'll finish all of Great Street.
I've been receiving complaints of the people on Great Street, and they say, where is the city not doing anything, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I want to mention this in my meeting.
Yeah,
And I
it's
wanna
coming.
Welcome you, Daisy. It's very welcome to the city of Santa Ana. Thank you for what you're doing. It's great.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
We'll help you, right?
We will help her, definitely.
Thank you, Commissioner Aguinaga. Commissioner Garcia.
Quick question. So with regard to those testimonials, so they're going to be presenting live? They're going to be at the meetings, or what other ways are you going to use these people?
We're doing a series of videos, and we have, I think, $25,000 targeted towards social media ads. And like I mentioned, it only cost us 1 to 5 cents to actually reach someone, so that will tell you the amount of people that we're expected to reach. Based on our formulas that we've looked at, we should reach from 1 to 300,000 people a month. And based on the Facebook algorithm, there's 210,000 people in Santa Ana that are on Facebook. We also target different folks through Instagram. We're also on Nextdoor. We are also on Twitter. Those are our main platforms. But we'll also, like I said, because not everyone is on social media, we're going to be doing as much community outreach as we possibly can.
Thank you, Commissioner Garcia. Vice Chair Santana.
Thank you, Ms. Ramos, for not skipping rotation. Daisy, thank you for the work you've done. I know you're doing a lot, you're wearing lots of hats. I think it's important that we do inform my fellow commissioners that when we talk about touches, as far as social media, tabling, and all these things, you've said that we are going to be using an ambassador program, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And with the ambassador program, the citizens have to pass a background check or get screened or fingerprinted. Is that correct?
We are exploring different
But currently,
outreach.
that's what the city's policy is?
Right. So currently, for someone to be an official city volunteer, they have to go through an HR process that includes a full background check.
So one of my moms from Madres en Acción, who may not be a citizen, would not necessarily walk into a police station or a fingerprint place to get screened. But she is a trusted source, very respected, and she also knows the importance of the census and wants to be involved. What can we do as a commission to help either notify the city manager's office or legal that, you know, this is an opportunity for our citizens to completely buy in and really help participate and get as much outreach to our residents?
Okay, so twofold. So one, we acknowledge that that's a huge barrier that we want to overcome. So I've already connected with our risk management department to see how we can minimize that just in general. And then second, we've been working directly and I had a meeting with our neighborhood initiatives department today on how we can be creative to fund our neighborhood associations and have, because there's an easier tie to fund the neighborhood association, and then the neighborhood association is able to conduct that outreach in our behalf to not have to go through the official volunteer process.
Great, thank you for answering those questions. And you know, I want to applaud you, and I hope that you are sharing this with other cities. I know there's been some cities that have been in the dark, and I'm glad, again, like Mr. Perez said, like we need to step up. We need to show that, you know, when we Santa Ana is taking the lead on homeless. We're now the head, like I think this is the only city that has put as much money, and no other city, not even the county, has put in a cent for census. And we're already, the photos just explain it, and this is all in the past, what, couple months?
Like 3 months, so, 3 months we've been out there.
And the state has awarded a ACBO, which is Charitable Ventures, and they haven't even launched. I think they had one health expo, right? Census expo. They
had an expo, and it was during the day, like Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. I'm not sure how much community outreach you're going to be able to get with that.
So this is the only city that has really begun running with census, and it's with the leadership of the city and investment of the council members, and I'm very happy for what you had to report back. And I hope that you're able to also show the residents that, you know, we are committed and we are going to participate and encourage more folks to really participate in the census.
Definitely, and I would like to encourage all of you to participate alongside of this process. And an opportunity that we have for all of you to participate, and you're more than welcome to, and I can connect with you individually, is for Fiestas Patrias. We're going to have a census float, and then we're going to have folks walking alongside the float. You are all welcome to participate as part of that process if you want to be in the Fiestas Patrias parade. It's going to be on September 15th.
Thank you. And I also have a comment, not on the census float, but I want to thank you for saying that you are being proactive and you are starting to think creatively about how this ambassador program can be more accessible. So I'd also just like to recommend maybe considering funding nonprofits that can then have people that they're working with or their resident base be these community ambassadors. I don't know if that might be a way to bypass that background check that will deter a lot of people from participating.
That's exactly what we're looking at right now.
Great, thank you. Were there any other commission member questions or comments? Go ahead, Commissioner Ursula.
Just wanted to echo my fellow commissioners, and then thank you for your work and for going above and beyond around the barriers in our community.
Definitely trying, and actually going out there and talking to residents, it's really been eye-opening, and it helps us adjust our strategy to figure out what works and what doesn't work, and just from communications perspective in general. And on Friday, I think the position closes for a new public information government affairs officer, so hopefully I'll be able to get some help and have a full-time person just do communications. So then I'll be able to focus more on census as well as other special projects. But hopefully that person has a lot of experience and has additional ideas to share. Additionally, Public Works just hired a community liaison to be able to do more community engagement. So just from a communications, if I can give like a quick update on that, I know it's not agendized, but I meet monthly with representatives from each department to be able to be more transparent and provide more information. I'm also working with neighborhood initiatives just to make it the neighborhood meeting information and just neighborhood associations more accessible online. So if you're new to the city and if you go on our website, you can't really find what you're looking for unless you know exactly what it is. So just know that the city is working to be more transparent and to be more accessible. There's only a handful of us and city staff, but we're trying to do as best as we can.
Thank you. Thank you, Daisy, for your work and your presentation.
Thank you.
We're now going to move on to our comments section. We already had public comments, so we'll move on to staff member comments. Staff, are there any comments that you would like to make today?
No, thank you, Chairwoman Ramos. We don't have any comments.
Great, thank you. So we're now going to move on to commission member comments. And I typically don't do this, but I would like to go first today. So I would like to go first today because I would like to announce that this is my last commission meeting. So I was notified today that Councilmember Peñalosa will be appointing somebody else at the Tuesday council meeting. So that is why I did not have interest in serving on any of these ad hoc committees. So I actually wrote some stuff up so that I wouldn't forget. But I just wanted to share with you all that I really enjoyed serving on this commission for the last 2 years. One of those years as chair, and I really want to sincerely thank all of you for your vote of confidence when you re-elected me as chair at the last commission meeting. So I'm very saddened that I won't be able to complete that term, but I'm also left with a lot of faith because I trust all of you, and I really, so I always say this, but when I used to come to these commission meetings in the past, no offense to whoever was on this commission before, but it seemed like it was very much a rubber stamp commission, where these meetings would typically end within 30 minutes to an hour. I think that's not the case for this commission and those that are serving right now. So I have really enjoyed serving with all of you. I've learned a lot from all of you. And I just ask that you all continue to do the good work that we've started. So I'm very excited to see how this CDBG process looks like once it comes back. And just keep asking questions just keep asking questions no matter how long you make the meeting go. So I think that's been my favorite part, that I feel like we've really allowed everybody to ask questions and to fully understand things before we end our meetings. Mm-hmm. And with that, just I guess for the next commission meeting, the commission will need to re-elect or to elect a new chair and also a new representative to the Historic Resources Commission. So, who would like to go next?
I just hate to see you going. You are a young blood in this commission. You are very advocated, and sometimes I wonder what the council thinks about not evaluating whoever is doing the job. And you're doing a good job. Why change the person? But it's my opinion. I'm sorry that you're leaving.
Thank you. Commissioner Press.
Yes. I just want to say thank you for being a role model. Thank you for taking charge, and really, to be honest with you, your leadership, your confidence helped me. And I know there's times I just pulled you aside and asked questions, and it's actually kind of sad to hear that. I know at our last kind of get together, we finally sat down and started just talking about personal, like, hey, how are you? And I was just really excited to move forward through this process and connect with you. But I just kind of feel like I found a friend, and know that I will be reaching out to you just to connect. It's a huge loss for us, a huge loss. But I know you're unbelievable and you have some awesome stuff going on and moving forward, and someone else is going to be lucky to find you. So thank you for your time with us.
Thank you, Commissioner Perez.
I'll go next. Yeah, so thank you, Madam Chair. You have done great work. You have shown leadership. You've been to the events, the ribbon cuttings, but I know that you're still going to be very active in this capacity and role, maybe not on this side of the dais, but I know that you will be reaching out to Jim, myself, Ceci, the rest of the commissioners, and our goal is to make sure that we encourage more residents to have more interest, because this is our future. But I will not forget the moment that you made me, well, not made me, but you encouraged me to take a picture on the convention floor holding a sign. I think,
what did it say?
That's a good question. What did the sign say?
Don't cry, Richard.
I am getting, not emotional, but what was the sign say?
Go ahead.
This is your moment. But nevertheless, I know that you're gonna be very active. You're gonna bring more groups, and I want to thank you for selflessly serving the residents of Santa Ana. Thanks.
Similarly, very sad to see you go, and very, very much encouraged by you and your leadership. And I just know and have seen your work in the community, and also just bringing it here to in this capacity. I think you've just shown a lot of leadership for the rest of us. So I hope we'll continue to do that in your absence, and just thank you for all your work. I do want to make a request as part of my comments. I noticed we moved this month's meeting. I do have a request if next month's meeting can also be changed, even just a week prior. If folks are able to accommodate that, I would appreciate it.
Excuse me, what do you want to make a request for?
If the meeting for next month,
I'd like to reschedule next month's meeting.
yeah, can also be changed. The September 18th is one week
So
prior.
the proposal is September 18th for the next commission meeting. How does that work for you all?
Unfortunately, I'm not here on the 18th. How you guys look?
Maybe the week before?
I have to check my schedule, but, if it's.
Are you
only-
around the 11th?
Well, if it's only you, are you gonna be here?
No, this is my last meeting.
Oh, this is it?
This is it.
Well, is city staff available on that day?
Yeah.
On the 18th? Yes, that date works for us.
It'll be only you, because if we have a quorum, because it, I'm sorry. If, in case, if, Commissioner,
Ursula.
Ursula, she can make it for any reason, but then, and then Suri's not gonna be here, are we still have a quorum with the other ones?
There'll be a reappointment.
That'll depend on who else might not make it.
Oh, well, we all here, who else is missing?
Student. Our student commissioner.
And then the appointment, will the appointment person already be in
That
place?
person was appointed.
That's true.
Sorry?
Will the person that's going to be appointed also be here by that time?
Yes, yeah, the appointment's supposed to occur on next Tuesday.
Well, can we meet, just us?
Well, if you're gonna if you're gonna have elections, I would encourage you all to have everybody present.
The 18th, if the 18th doesn't work, is the 11th available on your end?
Or what about
Yeah,
another
the 18th
day,
is too far
another
away.
day the week
Oh,
of the
okay.
18th?
If it's
Just
possible, if,
what about the following week? Well, I don't know what it is. Because,
The thing with me, I have an appointment that morning that's gonna take me out of work. For that morning that I set that appointment a long time ago, so, and I don't think I can leave early from work that day because of that.
too far away.
So
Right.
students.
Commissioner Perez, the 18th doesn't work for you, but is there another day that works for you that week?
Oh, that week?
Yeah.
how's Monday, the 23rd for you? Would a Monday work?
I think.
I know it's a change.
So, with respect to your request, Commissioner Ursula, and not trying to take away from it, staff, we would suggest you stick to your meetings in your bylaws as the fourth Wednesday of the month. For this special meeting that we held today, we needed it for the purposes of the CAPER and the citizen participation plan. But if you make the decision now hey, can we reschedule to the week before? We staff, we don't know yet what items we're even bringing to that meeting, and you would start down a path of like, well, we schedule this one, and special meetings are special meetings for a purpose, right?
That's understandable. Thank you. I didn't know how it happened for this meeting, so I just thought I'd give it a try.
Yeah.
So I have a clarifying question. In my absence at the next meeting, Vice Chair Santana will then be acting as chair. Can the election be postponed to the October meeting?
Because you'd be absent.
And
from
because
that
we'd have a
meeting.
new commissioner.
Excuse me, I hate to say this. I'm interested in the vice chair. I didn't have a chance before, and I let you know all now. And then in October, I won't be here. So, there.
Okay, okay, okay.
Well, I have a clarifying question, just from my understanding. So Richard would be acting as chair of that meeting, but if he wanted to be chair, he would have to be elected into that role, correct? Or does he just become chair and then goes to vice chair?
We'll review this issue in the
that's a little
bylaws and see
confusing.
exactly how it will be set up. But for the immediate next meeting,
He would be
the
acting
vice
as
chair
chair.
will step into the chair position, and then we'll figure out,
Okay.
if and when a new election will be required.
Cool.
Yeah. And on that, if we agendize the elections at the next meeting, which is what we would be properly following the bylaws in the absence of our chair position, even though you'll be absent from that meeting, if the commission were to direct us to continue the item, that could be the direction from the commission. So it's real. You have flexibility there.
Would be okay.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Are there
One
any-
clarifying question, can she call in? Is that an option?
I believe it is. Other commissions have done.
Because I think we want to respect your voice and respect what, so I think looking at keeping everything kind of status quo and having you call in.
Yeah, there are specific, it is possible, there's specific requirements for how you do that. The noticing requirements, you have to be in a location where you have to post that there's a meeting happening there and that you are in a public spot where somebody could come join you if they wanted to. But as long as you meet those requirements, it can be done for commissioners to call in.
If it's out of the country, is that a problem?
I would have to look into that. I know we've had that question before. I don't
Great.
think we've actually done it, but we can look further into that.
Thank you.
Great. Are there any other commission member questions or comments? Go ahead, Commissioner Garcia.
I want to circle back to your announcement. So I was a little bit in shock over it because I'm frankly sad that you're leaving because I really enjoyed you leading these meetings, and
Thank you.
I love your passion that you have for this area that we serve and what we do, and your knowledge and your expertise is invaluable.
Thank you.
And so I really want to thank you for everything that you've done, and I hope that you come back to serve in some capacity, either on this commission or in another commission on the city.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for all of your comments, and I just want to say that I'm still a Santa Ana resident. A lot of my work is still in this housing world, so I'm very happy to act as a resource to any of you. I'm very easy to find around, so feel free to reach out. And I just also ask that as you all continue your terms on this dais, that you remember our community that is outside and often does not step foot into these council chambers, and that you remember that you have the power, you literally have the authority to make decisions that can protect our most vulnerable members of the community. So, thank you all. Well, with that said, I am adjourning the meeting. The next regular meeting of the Community Redevelopment and Housing Commission is scheduled for September 25th, 2019 at 4:30 p.m. at the council chamber.